In this video, I'm going to share with you how to design, fill, deliver, and monetize a retreat. Hosting a retreat is one of the most fulfilling and transformational experiences you can have as a leader. I know this because I've hosted dozens of retreats in my career, especially over the last 6 years. And as I've done that, I've learned a lot about what not to do. And I've also started helping other people build and grow their own retreats. And so I've learned even more about how to do it effectively, how to do it in a way that's energy rich and not draining, and how to make money, not just from the retreat itself, but also on the back end of your retreat. So there are 4 buckets that I want to talk about today. The first bucket is designing your retreat, like the preparation that you do in advance of your retreat to make sure that you can fill it, deliver it effectively, and also make money on it. So the design part of the retreat, number 1, what you want to think about is, what is the juicy outcome? Why are people going to attend this retreat? What are they going to get out of it? What are they going to walk away with? So these are some of the things to think about as you design it. And at the same time that you want to design it, I want to caution you against over designing it, especially at this early stage. So when I'm talking about design, I'm thinking big, overarching promise outcomes, but not necessarily every moment of every day all figured out just yet. One thing you do want to figure out in this design phase is, what are your dates, and commit to those, and what is your location? Now, keep in mind, when I say location, I'm not necessarily talking about the venue that you're going to host the retreat at. I actually think you can wait a little while before you get that, if you have enough time to do that. What I'm talking about location-wise is getting enough of a sense of where you're going to hold it that you could sell it to people that may need to fly in. So for example, you might say that you want to host your retreat January 14th, 15th, 16th in Miami, Florida. That's where I host my retreats. And as a matter of fact, you'll notice that I don't host my retreats in very exotic places. I host them in places that people can get to easily and that have lots of different hotel options. Other hotspots for retreat hosting: Orlando, Las Vegas, Colorado in the mountains. There's lots of properties up there, ski chalets and places like that. So there are a few hotspots where you know you can easily find a place to stay, whether it's a hotel or an Airbnb or a VRBO or something like that. So I actually don't necessarily commit to a venue until I have people enrolled in my retreat. Now, that might sound crazy to some people, but my mantra is sell it first, figure it out later. I'll tell you this much: if I have people enrolled in my retreat and they have paid me money, I will figure it out. And worst case scenario, you might need to move the dates or find a new venue. So the design part, that first bucket, is all about the ideation part of building your retreat. The part where you're figuring stuff out, but you're not necessarily investing any money or putting down any deposits or down payments. So at this phase, you can already start moving into the second bucket, which is filling the retreat. That's right. I recommend selling into your retreat, enrolling people to attend before you actually fully flesh it out. I know that sounds crazy, but the reason I do that is because I want you to collect money before you're spending money on your retreat. So if you have your dates and you have your location, not necessarily your venue, but your city, and you've got a juicy promise and you've got an overall idea of what your outcome is, you can start to enroll people in your retreat. Now, here's the thing. Everybody says, all right, well, how do you market your retreat? That's when, at least in the very beginning, I don't recommend necessarily creating a website or a brochure. You definitely want those things eventually. But if you are starting your first retreat or your early days with this retreat, I recommend going first to the people who know you, like you, trust you. That means your existing clients. If you're a coach, that means going to your current coaching clients. If you're a consultant, that means going to your current and past consulting clients. So looking at your existing network and starting with that. It's very rare, at least in my experience, to have brand new, never ever cold prospects enroll in something as intimate and committed as a retreat. You know, a retreat takes a few days off of your schedule. You've got to travel. It's quite a big investment. So I recommend starting with the people in your closest inner circle for the first initial people to enroll. When I did my very first retreat, what I did was I held a beta retreat first, which meant I held a practice retreat, and I called up a few of my closest clients and I offered them the opportunity to come to that at a very reduced cost, almost nothing. And I did it in a venue that didn't cost me a lot of money. In fact, I think the venue was free. And I did that so that I could get my feet wet, so I could practice, and also so that I could see if it worked. And I did it so that I could test out my offer on them for the back end program that I sold after my retreat. So that's another piece. This is bucket number 3, and this is the monetization of your retreat, making money from it. Now, the retreat itself can generate revenues. Usually there's some costs associated with that retreat. But the beautiful thing that it does is it creates a tremendous amount of connection, bonding, and trust that can lead into another future program. So the way I do retreats is I highly recommend you use them as a platform to sell into a more transformational, longer-term program. So my 3-day retreat leads directly into my 1-year program. And that 1-year program is what drives monthly recurring revenues for me for the long haul. So we've already talked about designing your retreat, about filling it through marketing and sales, and then also monetizing it. The last thing is the delivery of the retreat itself. Something that really is, you can't overestimate the importance of how you show up in leadership at your retreat. When I was first starting to do retreats, I was fearful and I didn't have a ton of confidence. And so I would come into this room, and there were days where I was on and I was electric and I was great. But there were also days where I was off and I let people in the room sort of bully me or take over the event. So one of the things that I highly recommend, if this is something that you really want to do and you want to do it for real, like as a business for a long time, is to invest in developing your own leadership skills and invest in developing your facilitation skills so that you truly can hold the space for this event and you can grow it. You know, for the longest time at the beginning, I didn't feel like I could grow the retreat beyond 10 people. And now in hindsight, looking back, I know why. It's because I found 10 people challenging to manage and hold. And so I couldn't imagine having 20 or even 30. It took me several years to get to that place. And without realizing it, I can now say, oh yeah, the reason I can do that now is because I've invested in my mindset. I've invested in my leadership. I can now show up with much more confidence, with higher standards, and I can hold that space in a whole new way because of the investment that I've made in myself and my own transformation. So that cannot be overestimated. If this video has resonated with you and you love the idea of hosting retreats as a business, then I'd love to connect. This is what I do. I help people build and grow businesses, in particular retreats businesses. So if you're interested in that, click on the link below or go to superstaractivator.com/go. When you get there, you can sign up for time on my calendar or with someone on my team to explore if and how we can help you grow your retreat business. Enjoy.